Hey, a few weeks ago, Fox Online interviewed me for the release of our Persecutor of the Year report. And that was wonderful, got a lot of exposure on that. But then Fox, their TV show, Fox and Friends, on Saturday, had me back for the same material. They wanted to talk about the report and what's going on. And this is fantastic. Because that kind of exposure means a whole bunch of people who know nothing about persecution, who have no idea what's going on with something that we care so deeply about, are getting exposed to it. So anyways, I thought I'd play the interview. It's short, it's tight, and but as always, thank you for caring for your persecuted brother and sister. God bless.
On Wednesday, the International Christian Concern Organization released its 2023 Persecutors of the Year report. It highlights the top 10 worst countries for Christian persecution. And our next guest says the issue is so underreported by the media that the average person doesn't even know it's happening. ICC President Jeff King joins us now. Jeff, thank you for this important work, for raising the awareness on this. You're right. Most Christians are mostly unaware of the level of persecution around the world. Where are we with Christian persecution right now in 2023?
Well, I would say it's persistent, it's pervasive, it's proliferating, it's growing. And just as an example, I would say look to Nigeria. Hardly anybody knows Nigeria in the last 20 years, probably upwards of 100,000 Christians have been killed. 3.5 million Christian farmers lost their lands. And this is at the hands of radical Islam. And that's a lot of the story that's going on around the world that the press generally doesn't report.
Radical Islam, but we're also seeing, countries like China, where talk to me about the status of the underground church in countries like Iran and China.
Well, that's probably the most exciting thing. One of the things I most like to talk about, that so often persecution breeds growth in the church. And the church in China, the church in Iran are exploding, especially in Iran. It's the fastest growing church in the world. And that's in spite of, 40 years of absolute terror, of repression, murder of the pastors and the Christians as a whole. It's an amazing story.
The fastest growing church in the world is in Iran?
That is true. And here's the other thing is the mosques are fairly empty, except for the old. The mosques are empty. Christianity has exploded. And that's all because of radical Islam and what they've done for decades.
Interesting. What can Christians do to support those persecuted? We're so fortunate to live in a country with the free exercise of religion, yet so many Christians don't have that. How can Christians help?
Yeah, well, first of all, go to persecution.org and then follow the subject matter. Get a magazine that's free, so you know what's going on. And at persecution.org, every day we're posting news about what's going on in that world. So that's the first thing. And then call legislators. We put out alerts when countries are doing terrible things, and we ask our leaders to call and make back channel calls, and that can make a world of difference. And then, of course, as Christians, we're always going to pray, but sometimes we have to turn over the tables, and that's one of the biggest things. Start shouting.
And so in Nigeria, to go back to your first example, the government there is hunting for pastors or for anybody who's openly a Christian.
Well, this is a group of, it's a tribal group. The main one is Fulanis. Everyone's also heard of Boko Haram, but the big problem is the Fulanis, and that's a tribe. But it's too complex to talk about this or that. Really, the simple story is this is radical Islam. These guys are Islamists. They're driving out the Christians. It's a massive genocide, a massive land grab. Again, hardly anybody knows or talks about it.
No doubt. Well, Jeff King, you're doing it with your organization. Thank you so much for highlighting it on our program. What's the website again if people want to check out that report?
Persecution.org. And thank you so much for having us on.
Persecution.org. God bless those Christians underground being faithful. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.